All right. Hopefully y'all can hear me this time. But what's good? This is your friendly neighbor, Chad the Maverick, back again with another video. And I'm using my real camera today. It's Leo season. Do I need to say more? It's Leo season. Like, let me use my real camera. Anyway, I hope y'all been doing great. This Leo season so far has been pretty awesome. Transit wise, like everything that I looked at in my last transit weatherman report was like, everything's good, everything's a new adventure, everything's like, everything from eclipse season has truly been showing people who they are for Leo season. And it's kind of crazy just to see the shift that has happened from being in such a sheltered place and now having to actually express those inner depths that your heart really wanted. I know for me personally, I've been trying to just like, if I want to do something or go for something, I'm just going to go for it and do it. It's maybe easier for me because I'm like a triple fire sign, so I kind of hop in and out of that energy pretty okay. But I just feel like it's been a very powerful time, especially because we're technically in between this Lionsgate portal from what they've been saying, which is the connection to Sirius, and Sirius is a star in our solar system that has bigger than the sun, and it's going to be conjuncting the sun on August 8th. And I might try to pull something up real quick, just to, my laptop's dead. I lied. Anyway, but what I will say is that we're now going into this time frame where there's going to be downloads that people receive from the universe within this 4-day span from like the 6th to the 10th. I also have another supplementary information on this. Right now I'm just telling you what I've perceived and picked up on. But I think the best way to put it is that Leo is bringing out your inner performer. It's bringing out your inner child. It's bringing out your need and want to be entertained and to entertain. And because of this, people are refining their passions, or people are starting to kindle new relationships. People are starting to feel into different spectrums of what they've already known to be, but they're starting to see how they fit within that spectrum. They're starting to understand that, oh wow, I can perform this. Oh, I can be a part of this and make it work. So that's one of those things that's really interesting about this coming up, is because it's forcing people to like literally live in this, right? It's forcing me to use my real camera. I'd hate the upload time, but it's one of those things where it's like, I understand where, in order to get a better presentation, I need to present myself better, you know? But aside from all that, let me actually get into the information of this week's energy that I've collected. This is based off of the Gene Key 7, which is from the original Gene Key book. I'm using these a lot when it comes to just understanding the energetic signatures, because this is understanding and using astrology, the I Ching, genetics, and the DNA that affects people per day. Every different day has a different effect on people's individual DNA due to the sun's path and positioning and the rest of the planets, but that's a deeper conversation. Just follow the info for what it is. So let's talk about life. That's what we're here for. Anyway, so we live in a very divided world and very divided times at this time. I live in the US, but unfortunately there has been an increase when it comes to like the mass shootings, and when it's come to a lot of political sphere information and the kids in cages and all this other shit. And it's fucked up. Like, it's terrible how divided that we become as people, where we forget that we're like all in this together. Every person lives just as complicated as a life that you live. And that's the concept that's called Sonder, but not even get into that. Like, getting into the nitty gritty, it's like, it's wrong from a moralistic standpoint. It's wrong from a humanity standpoint. But these things happen, and these things happen because there's a hierarchy that allows it to do so. But the trick about even having a hierarchy is that we're the ones that coin and make these hierarchies work. We're the ones that see somebody, and if they have a leadership position, we're the ones that give them the credit as being a leader, in comparison to taking our time and understanding that inside we're all of our own leaders, and we can take on the world if we need to. Because people that are in charge, or people that are higher up, it's a position. It doesn't necessarily make them a leader. There's a difference between a leadership position and someone who is a leader. Because a leader doesn't actually try to lead. A leader lives. And that's the difference. A leader tries to live through what he does and inspires others. Because there's a difference between an inspiration. If you're inspiring somebody and you're inspiring people, you're more of a leader than someone who's had a leadership position for 10 years and hasn't helped anything but himself. Because there's a certain level of selfishness that can come in when it comes to leadership roles or leadership positionings. But I'd rather be cool with the person that's living through his whole entire heart than someone who has $8 billion in the bank but hasn't even sent his family a card on a holiday, or has done something of that nature. Like, you need to have heart in this world. And it's funny how, so we live in, personally, if you're from the US, we live in this democracy state. You know, we have this political system that's supposed to work. And ideally, it is supposed to work. And in its core roots, it is. But there's a lot of corruption. And the corruption comes from this hierarchy standpoint. And power positions eventually create victims if you're using it to trip over the influence you have. And this is the shadow of this type of time frame. It's the every man for himself. And we can live off of every man for himself if we'd like to, but that's a lonely life. It's a very lonely life. It's not a lone wolf life, it's just a very lonely life. And there's a difference between your solitude and being alone. And that's an alone type of feeling. And that's where a lot of greed comes from. I think that's why people get so obsessed with the idea of becoming a leader that they're willing to stomp over everyone to get there. But the one with the most influence is going to be someone who's just them. It's just them to the fullest, or them as much as they can. You know what I mean? Even myself, when I'm making these videos, I don't want to consider myself a leader. I really don't. I think I'm just a part of it. I'm the cog in the larger machine that even I'm not 100% aware of, because like, this is part of, I guess, the universe's journey for me. So I don't see myself as this type of leader. I just want to like express and help others to get their heart and their mind aligned so they can go live out their life. Like, live your best life. That's the only goal I have. But not even talking about me. It's just like, it's crazy how all of that works. Like I said before, there's a difference between this dictator type shit where people want to force it, and when people then on the other flip end try to hide from the world, right? This problem I've had a lot. When you try to hide too much and you don't let yourself express, then you generally fall to the bottom of said hierarchy. If you push yourself and you're trying to be alpha and you're trying to be like imposing and etc., you end up becoming to the higher portion. So there's going to be this asshole who's at the top of the line being a prick. And there's going to be this super kind person who may be the best leader in the world, but they're too scared to speak their piece because this hierarchy exists. And that, my friends, is the trick behind it all. Never me being a dork. But I guess the best way to put it is that this time frame that's coming up is having you understand the difference between true leadership and leadership positions. And we're seeing it happen if you watch the news, if you watch stuff like that. Even if you just are staying on Instagram, you're going to see different principles of this energy playing out. So the thing about it is that it's best for us, especially during this time frame, and with this Lionsgate coming in. I keep forgetting about the Lionsgate. This is very important. But we have to start to find and rediscover our ideal of service. Like, I think personally, this is aside from the energies, but like I have this theory where people find their passion in the work that they want to do, and they work towards it every day. And that's something that's natural. For me personally, my passion will be music. So every day I work on something music related, period. Doesn't matter. Like, it just happens. That's my passion, right? But my service to other people and to others would be these videos. My service personally would be on a spiritual tip and me trying to help others redefine and discover what they already know themselves to be. And I think that's my personal service through my astrology, through my tarot readings I do on Twitter, through just conversation. But I think everyone has a specific service. And I talked to someone yesterday, matter of fact, about this in the camera shop. And he was just saying, he was like, it was the same conversation. It was just like, everyone needs their passion and everyone needs their service. And this is going to be bringing you into a time frame where you're starting to see your passions, Leo season, and also what service you can bring, which I feel like is what the Lionsgate is going to be amplifying for people, because it's such a spiritual aspect. It's going to force people into their spirit, the spiritual side of their service. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be something spiritually related, but that means you might just go to a food kitchen now. That means you might just help out with like Special Olympics. That might mean that you help around your family a little bit more. Like, it doesn't, like, the terms are the terms, but the way that the energies play out, it could be in the most mundane to the most advanced and extra things. So just keep that in mind. Anywho, but yeah. So I think the thing about it is that we as a people, and if you're watching this, I suggest you try this out yourself. Everything I try to talk about, I try to perform myself. So just to kind of like, you know, I don't like preaching to the choir. I like to be a part of the choir that just tells the part, you know. Anyway, but we're getting to a place where it's like service-based business should take over capitalism eventually. Not in a rush-based system, but there's so many talented people that live and work on their own independent businesses that if we really just look forward to independent businesses and we actually like got together as a collective, we could really just not deal with a bunch of the other shit that comes up and actually be helping people that we care for and like care about, which is cool. The mid-range leadership and the best middle ground for leadership is when it's a heart-based leadership. Leo season, again, living through your heart space, living through your heart, whatever your heart wants and tugs you for, you do. Like, it's weird. I've been working on this, but it's like, and you might even land yourself in some weird type situations, but living through your heart will never be a bad thing. It's because living through your heart shows that you've learned to surrender. And that's hard. It's hard to surrender to your heart because we've been taught that that's not the right thing, or this isn't the way that our minds are supposed to work, or fuck that. Live through your heart. You know what you want. You know what you really feel. Like, feel it out. Feel it out. Live it out. Push it to the world. You have something to fucking say. Everyone has something to say. Everyone has something to bring to the table. Despite the hierarchy shit, despite everything else and all these other people saying, oh, you aren't on this level, you can fucking do it. I don't care what you are. I don't care what you look like. You can do it. Period. Anyway, back to the end of this video. I don't want to make this over 20 minutes because I know attention spans and I'm one of those people. So But this is something interesting. Everyone already has a leadership capability. Everyone's already kind of born innately with their natural talent. What happens is, in order for you to really tap into this talent, you have to allow like the frequency of life, so to speak, to move through you in order for you to actually perform these great deeds, these great actions. Like, it's a frequency that passes through you. And the best way I can put it is like, if you ever played a sport or you ever honestly done anything that's super active, if you really are doing great at it, you get into what they call like the zone. And when you're in the zone, you're in this space and it's just like everything's clear, everything's set, everything's centered, and you know exactly how to go about it. That's what this frequency kind of is. And this frequency that passes through shows you how to move towards the next thing, towards your next goal. The thing is, this time frame is about virtue. And I wanted to read this directly off because this is the craziest thing I read about virtue ever. But virtue is the unimpeded expression of nature through men and women living at their zenith. That's dope. Like when you start living at your zenith, you know, when you start really living in your zen is when you actually become virtuous. Virtuous doesn't necessarily mean moralistic. Virtuous means you're living exactly by your own hunches, by your own heart, by your own power. And virtue offsets the power of chaos through like you can't calculate the acts that it does, because virtue creates a chaos in the world because the world always lives on a hierarchy. But when you're truly in your virtue, it throws everything off. It throws off the steps of power. If you know how to confidently walk up to someone with $1 million and shake their hand like they're a regular person and not get flabbergasted by it, you're living in your virtue. You're living in your power because you're like, we're the same. We're all connected. What makes you different since you have $1 billion? You may have had different times than I have. You may have had more opportunity. That doesn't make us different. I can go get $1 million. I can get $1 billion if I want to. $1 trillion by the end of my lifetime. Many, many 100 years, 10,000 years down the line. But, but we all come back anyway. But that's another story. Anyway, what I'm saying is, in order to repair the world, we have to remember the world is ours. I like the little thing that just happened there. But in order for you to understand, I'm gonna say it one more time. In order for you to repair the world, you have to understand the world is ours. You have to understand that we in ourselves, and if we really join together, we are like essentially our own army. Like they talk about the 144,000. Well, we have way more than 144,000. That's an analogy. That's an analogy. You know how many people are actually low-key getting into astrology? You know how many people are actually low-key getting into spirituality? We're starting to understand the difference between people, the heart, and machine. We're starting to understand the differentials. But what I'm saying is that in order for you to live in your leadership and live through the repairing of the world, you have to actually live through your heart, live through your virtue, and live at your zenith in order for anything to really become possible. But that's what this Lionsgate is bringing. That's what it's going to be popping out of people. It's going to really be bringing out that inner leader, that inner passion, that inner heart, like real fast. You get what I'm saying? Thank y'all for watching all the way through this. If you're still here, like, comment, share, subscribe, etc. This is only a 4-day one. I didn't want to get super in depth or anything crazy. But yeah. Cool. I know I have a couple people that ordered readings, and thank you if you're watching this. I appreciate it. I'm going to be working on them after this video. Anyone else that wants a reading, my readings are still on sale for the next 20 days. Once Virgo season pops in, I have to like put the back up. But right now, I think that my lowest reading is like $35, which is a steal because I really do just go in. Like I get to nerd out on your chart. And yeah, so I have to hit that up. Aside from that, have a good day, life, week, whenever you see this. Hope the Lionsgate brings out the best in you. That's the biggest hope. But anyway, that's not the point. This has been your friendly neighbor, Chad the Maverick, and wishing you would do. Peace out.